This is the island of modern-day Jamaica. And who was here first? Well, about 2,500 years ago, a group of people called the Arawaks sailed up from South America. Yep, this looks like a pretty good place to settle. And we're gonna call it Jamaica, which roughly translates to the land of wood and water. What? So why did you give it this name? Look, there's water here and there's wood, so we might as well give it that name. You got a better idea? And so they began to settle. Now, these people were, I quote, mild and simple. This basically means that they weren't interested in conquering anyone or demanding their neighbors for gold. They were busy growing things and fishing, and they did a lot of fishing. So they basically grew crops like cassava, sweet potatoes and maize, and tobacco. Lots and lots of tobacco. Yeah, you're definitely addicted. Isn't that like your faith this morning? I'm not addicted. It's just my favorite pastime. And since they needed food and water like everybody else does, they built their villages mostly near the coast and the rivers. And so that was their peaceful life. Everything was going on great. They were farming, fishing, and smoking, their favorite pastime. And then in 1494, a Spanish guy named Christopher Columbus showed up. Quick backstory, he was a random explorer who was looking for another way to go to India, and he was actually going the wrong way. Well, technically there is no such thing as wrong way on a world that is round, but in common language, yeah, he was going the wrong way. So on his second voyage, he landed in Jamaica, and he believed the myth from the Cubans that the land was full of gold. So that really motivated him. And spoiler, there was no gold. Alright, so he stopped right here at St. Anna's Bay. He found the Arawaks, doing their thing, and they were not happy to see him. Oh, that is definitely hostile. Yeah, that is generally what happens when you try to trespass on someone else's island. That's like a no-brainer. But Columbus was a man on a mission. He needed wood, water, and a place to repair his ships. And he was determined to claim this island for the king and the queen of Spain, who were probably busy somewhere else doing whatever. And of course, he was salivating to get that gold. So because the Arawaks were quote-unquote hostile, and Columbus ordered his crossbow men to attack the Arawaks with their crossbows. A number of Arawaks were killed and wounded, and just like that, the hostility vanished, and Columbus was able to plant the flag and claim the island. Mission accomplished. And from then, things went downhill for the Arawaks really fast. So the Spanish wanted the land, and the Arawaks didn't want to give it up. And we all know where this led to. Torture, murder, and good old slavery. The Arawaks were overworked and horribly treated that their population plummeted. This process was also aided by European diseases like common cold, which the Arawaks were not used to. And in a short time, the entire Arawak population was gone. They were extinct. Yo, I think we went a little too far. Shut up. I know. So after all this carnage, did Jamaica become the crown jewel of Spanish Empire? Nope. Alright, since there was no gold, few Spaniards bothered to settle there. Yeah, this place completely sucks. I'm moving back to Spain. I know, but we have to pretend like we like it, because if we don't, the British are gonna get it. Do you want the British to get this? It sucks anyways, so they can get it. That's not a problem. Pretend like you like it. That's an order. So for this period of time, Jamaica was basically the Spanish empire's boring warehouse. And that was for... So it took the Spanish a little while to really settle on the island. And then in 1509, the first colonialists arrived. They were led by a governor, this man, called Juan de Esquivel. and they first set up their camp near where Columbus had arrived. Alright, we're gonna settle right here and we're gonna call this place Sevilla la Nueva, which roughly translates to New Sevilla. I guess because the old Sevilla was back in Spain and they thought they could turn this into a new Sevilla. Anyway, yeah, we can't name this Sevilla. Literally, there's only like 2 buildings around here. Yes, and we're gonna make it more, so shut up. Unfortunately, most of the towns they founded were basically just tiny settlements. The only one that ever came anything close to resembling to a city was Saint Django de la Venga, which later became known as Spanish Town. And it became the center of government, trade, and apparently it had so many churches and converts. Because if you're not finding gold, you can at least, try to save some souls. Now, I know you're hungry, but Jesus loves you. However, even with this wasn't going to hold for a long time. Remember how Jamaica was just Spain's boring warehouse? Well, the home country treated it exactly like that, with minimum attention. And this neglect led to a huge problem called internal strife, which is just a fancy word of saying everybody was fighting with everybody else. And this was a major reason why the colony started to fall apart in its final years. And here's why things went pretty bad. The governors were trying to run the colony, but they weren't getting any proper support from Spain. Imagine trying to manage a business when your boss refuses to answer your emails. And on top of that, the governors were constantly quarreling with the church authorities, which totally undermined their ability to control things. Wait, are you questioning me? Do you want to be a heretic? Just say it. I'm going to make you a heretic. What is wrong with you guys with everything being heretical? I can't get anything done in this place without, you're going to be a heretic. Well, just say it. I'm going to make it. I'm done. I'm going. Just wait until the British show up. Now, as if internal fighting wasn't enough, the island was frequently attacked by pirates because nothing says weak colony like being constantly raided by drunken sailors looking for loot. And you know who was watching in the peripheral?